Good day, everyone. In almost 4 centuries, we have witnessed the reign of approximately 20 individuals as crowned the Lake Wafiko. It has since been a roller coaster of events and epochs that have defined and now encapsulated in what we refer to as the culture and tradition of the peoples of Lagos. This is a historical account of the etymology of Obaship in Lagos, along with a list of those who have been opportune to mount the throne of Ilek Wafiko. My name is Lukman Owolabi, and it is time to go there. It was Ogunfu Miniri who, in the 15th century, led an expedition from Ile-Ife, armed with a clay pot as compass, that led him and his crew to a location on the outskirts of Lagos where the sacred pot sank, thereby earning the adventurers the name Awori. Ogunfunminiri, in absolute obedience to divinity, then set up a permanent settlement at Isheri. He thereby became the first Olofin of Isheri town in 1425. It was from Isheri that he led hunting expeditions to Ibutemeta and eventually Ido, where he also established a fiefdom, spreading his tentacles to surrounding islands through his sons and other relations that came along with him from Isheri. Ido then became a center of political and governmental control in a confederal system whereby his children and other appointees, collectively known as the Dejo chiefs, usually met to discuss developmental issues within their areas of control. This was the status quo until Olofin Ogunfunminiri died in 1505. The youngest son of Olofin, Aromire Omo Ajayi, had already developed a large expanse of pepper farm on the adjoining island. He also built a meeting point called Eseiga on the farm where the Dejo chiefs met after the death of their father. This was a situation of things until invaders from Benin Empire came calling. They undertook many military expeditions, but were repeatedly fought back until they succeeded in conquering Edo and eventually the island. They established a military camp on the island from where they began to interfere in the affairs of Lagos. It was from here that they tried to control trading activities and coordinated the collection of tributes from merchants, traders, and the political establishment, which they usually sent to the Oba of Benin every year as Ishakole in local parlance. Well, many years later, the invading party, led by Oba of Benin's representative Asheru, developed appetite for invading the mainland after overwhelming the locals in Ido and the island. It was an expansionist agenda in order to expropriate more bountifully Shakole for the Benin Empire. It was during one of the raiding expeditions to the mainland that the leader of the raiding party was killed by hostile Awori locals in Isheri. An Awori chief named Ashikba, a wily man with vaunting ambition, in a bid to secure his position of influence amongst his people, seized the opportunity of Asheru's death to worm his way into the Oba of Benin's affection by returning the corpse of Asheru to Benin, a profound gesture that was very pleasing to the Oba. During this period, it had become an increasingly difficult task for the Benin invaders to penetrate the mainland and expand their sphere of influence, which in turn would have guaranteed greater annual tributes for the empire. The Oba of Benin at this time had grown battle weary. He was already facing rebellion at home from neighboring vassal states. He then devised a scheme to dampen hostility from the Aworis and also achieve his desire of securing a firm political and economic control over Ido and the island. The Oba's master stroke materialized in form of naming Ashikba, a true Awori chieftain, as his representative on the island. This was perceived as a more plausible and cost-effective option than the risk-laden expeditions to the mainland in view of the belligerent disposition of Awori locals in Isheri. The Oba of Benin graciously handed over to Ashikba a royal sword and drum, the Gbedu Oba, as symbols of his authority. He also deployed 10 civil chiefs, the Akari Beres, led by Letu Odibo, and the 5 war chiefs, the Abagbons, led by Ashogbon, to accompany Ashikpa to Lagos. The chiefs represented the civil and military symbols of Oba of Benin's authority. Their primary duty was to ensure the preservation of Benin Empire's interest on the island. These officers were the original members of Lagos White Cap chiefs. Ashikpa eventually returned to Lagos. He became the de facto leader despite passive resistance by the people, and ultimately the first uncrowned Eleko of Eko. Ashikpa, in return, instituted a system that ensured annual tributes flowed from Eko to the Benin Empire. Ashikpa reigned as a leader from about 1600 to 1630. The only son of Ashikpa, Ado, took over the leadership role after his father's death. Ado was crowned by the Oba of Benin and thereby became the first crowned Eleko of Eko. He reigned from 1630 to 1669. He gave birth to two male children, Gabaro and Akinshemoyin, and a female child. Given the paraphernalia of the Eleko and the structure and composition of chieftaincy in Lagos, we can safely conclude that the advent of Obaship in Lagos was conceived and institutionalized by the Benin Empire. The Elekos of Eko are hereby listed from the first crowned Eleko till present. Oba Ado, 1630 to 1669. Oba Gabaro, 1669 to 1704. Oba Akinshemoyin, 1704 to 1749. Eletu Kekere, 1749 to 1749. Ologun Kutere, 1749 to 1775. Adele Ajosun, 1775 to 1780. Oba Eshinlokun, 1780 to 1819. Idewu Ojulari, 1819 to 1832. Adele Ajosun returned and ruled from 1832 to 1834. Oba Oluwole, 1834 to 1841. Oba Akitoye, 1841 to 1845. Oba Kosoko, 1845 to 1851. Oba Akitoye also returned and ruled from 1851 to 1853. Oba Dosunmu, 1853 to 1885. Oba Oyekon I, 1885 to 1900. Oba Ishugbayi, 1901 to 1925. Ibikunle Akitoye, 1925 to 1928. Sanusi Olusi, 1928 to 1931. Ishugbayi returned and reigned from 1931 to 1932. Oba Falolu, 1932 to 1949. Musendiku Adeniji Adele, 1949 to 1964. Adeyemika Oyekon, 1965 to 2003. And Oba Rilwan Akiolu, 2003 till date. I hope you have found the content enlightening and interesting. In the next video, I shall be delving into the character of the Elekos, the many intrigues involved in the struggle for ascension of the throne, and how their actions and inactions have impacted the fortunes of Lagos and indeed Nigeria. Till we meet next time, mo yọ̀ fún ẹ, mo yọ̀ fúnra mi.